gentlemen, welcome to the best sports show in Kansas City. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW Radio, where sports come alive. Join your hosts, the awesome voice, and Coach 24 as they dive into the latest sports news, analysis, and excitement. From the biggest games to the most thrilling moments, they've got it all covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an hour of unbeatable sports action. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW Radio.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Weekend Eve. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW. We are here. Coach 24, Darwin Penny, is out of town. He is scouting again for the Royals, as he always does, and doing a great job, except for he does need to try to find some outfielders to help the Royals out, because these outfielders we got right now are just not quite doing it. And behind the scenes, running the show, Mr. DJ Scatter, George Walker. Mr. Walker, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, everything's going just great on this end.
Oh, that's awesome. And tonight I have two guests. I have a coach and a player from the Kansas City Panthers, Coach Bo Webb and player Keyshawn Garrett. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
We're doing great. I'm excited in this building, and we're just taking it one day at a time, getting ready to go, and obviously it goes live next weekend.
Yes. So you guys have so is it a preseason game? Because the regular season doesn't start until the 26th.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, it's a preseason game. We're hosting the
Missouri Spartans.
At our place next Saturday at 4 o'clock kickoff, and the regular season kicks off on April the 26th at home, and we host the team that made it to the championship game last year, the Missouri Cyclones, which is a big game for us.
Oh, absolutely. So they kicked some butt last year, especially in that championship game. So saying this, Coach, you have been a coach since 2004, haven't you?
Yes.
So, and you give us a little synopsis on your coaching career.
Well, it's the history with myself goes way back, even beyond 2004. I first got my sniff of what I don't like to say semi-pro. I like to call it like adult amateur football back in 1995 with a team that was local to Kansas City Bulldogs. And from that point, I played 4 years with those guys, and then decided at that point in time, make it a real short career and get into the coaching side of it. 2004 is when I kicked things off with the Kansas City Shockers, and I helped start that team from scratch and had that team for 2 years, and then obviously went on ahead and started the Midwest Titans.
Yes, absolutely. You and Eric Hoskins developed that team, and you guys done pretty good, because the Midwest Titans and the Kansas City Panthers were kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs and Oakland Raiders.
That's true.
We always seem to have that type of rivalry. It wasn't as bad as the real Chiefs and Raiders in the 60s and 70s, but it's probably more like today. Saying that, how many championships have you won?
Okay, so with the KC Shockers, we made it to one league title, and that was in 2005. We ended up losing that game. But with the Midwest Titans, I played in 4. We played in 3 league championships. We won all 3 of those, and we played in 1 national, and we won that one.
Now, did you play in the national championship in the same years you won a championship game?
Yes, we did. Yeah, in 2012.
2012. Now, I remember the 2015 one for sure, because you guys played the Kansas City Panthers.
Yes.
You guys were undefeated, and there actually were 2 really great teams. So, but you guys seemed to be like the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chiefs this year in the Super Bowl, and you took care of your business. And I remember, because I announced that football game, and I remember it well. So, but I do have to say this. even though the Panthers and the Titans had a rivalry, players, if you played with the Titans, you didn't like the Panthers. If you were with the Panthers, you didn't like the Titans. Even if you switched teams the next year, you still like that. But after my brother passed away, you brought my parents down onto the field and introduced them. And even though my brother was a Panther, there was a few players that did not like it, and you set them straight. And so I've always had high respect for you. But that made me feel so good that you brought my parents, because my mom was like, "Why are you guys doing this? You're wasting your time. You being a mom, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And so she came down and she realized just what football meant. It wasn't just playing the games. It wasn't just the X's and O's. It was the bonding. It was the camaraderie and everything. And I do thank you very much for you doing that. And it made me feel, because I was actually in the press box announcing that game too that day, because I announced for the Panthers and I also announced for the Titans. But I just want to personally say thank you in front of everybody who's listening. That it made I appreciated that so much.
Brian, the old saying goes, when you know family, sometimes it goes well beyond sport activity. You've been part of this family since I was a young kid, because obviously you went to the same high school as my two older brothers,
Right.
and used to watch me run around as a little rugrat back in the day. So, it's just out of generosity, the kindness of my heart, and also Coach Hoskins and the Midwest Titans that we did this for you and your family, and we love you, man, and that's he's a brother to us. So
Yeah, absolutely, and I greatly appreciate that. So, saying that, enough tears running down our faces. Let's get back to it. So, this year, last year you were with the Titans. Finished the season. You guys were the 4th ranked team in the league, and then you had some issues. So the Titans have officially completely dropped out. Am I correct?
Yeah, so after we finished out last season, which we were unable to compete in the postseason, Coach Hoskins and I we took a little break, and then we decided to schedule a meeting just with us two, no one else, no coaching staff, no ball players, and we decided after 21 years of being at this, running a team, owning a team, the full operations, we were going to go ahead and just put the Midwest Titans to rest. We've had a great run at it, been at it since 2007, and my overall record, 171, 54-1. So, we've had a lot of games. We suited up a lot. We played a lot of ball on Saturdays, and enjoyed every moment of it. And now it's about me moving on, and he moved on, focused on his family, his career, his son, who is also now in high school, and I'm doing my thing in high school, wrestling, and also here with the KC Panthers, and trying to bring another title to these guys.
Yep, absolutely. So you brought in one of the players, Keyshawn Garrett. So you play football at Avila University?
Yes, sir.
So with that, how do you combine playing football for Avila and playing football for the Panthers?
Well, to me, I feel like it's just the same. Football is football. It doesn't matter what level, high school, middle school, professional, semi-pro. Football is football. The work ethic you put in is what you get out.
So at Avila, are you a freshman? You a senior?
Oh, I've graduated Avila 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. So you already played.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought maybe you were playing at the same time, so that's why I was trying to say how are you combining this?
Oh
no. So what made you come to the Kansas City Panthers?
Well, after everything that happened with the Titans last year, I kind of talked to Coach Webb and kind of talked to myself. I was like, certain things will kind of have to happen for me to say okay. And when I found out he made that jump, I was like, all right, I'm gonna slide with Coach and that's just kind of what brought me over here.
Cool. So, what position do you play?
I play strong safety, free safety, and nickel.
Gotcha. And so now you go from head coach, and you're now the defensive coordinator.
Yes, sir.
And being with the team, I would truly say that you're probably the assistant head coach.
Yes,
So-
you're right.
So, what made you decide to, after leaving the Titans, because at one time you had thought about not coaching?
Yes. So after actually 2 years ago, I was telling the ball players we would talk and conversate. I said, guys, I really think I'm going to hang it up after that. But ended up coming back last year and gave it another shot. And I kind of told myself beginning of the season last year, this would be it. I announced it at the very first team meeting in the wintertime. And guys was like, yeah, you said this before, but you keep coming back. Typical what I do. I'm that type of guy. But I did tell him that was supposed to be it for me. And after we photoshopped with the Titans, and I had a phone call with Coach Ross and talked to some other assistant coaches that we have now on board. Great staff, by the way. This definitely takes a lot of weight, a lot of pressure off of me, so I can just strictly focus on the defense side of the ball, special teams, and just do what I'm supposed to do as an assistant head coach, kind of run the show when Coach Ross is out doing other things. So I'm absolutely loving it. Giving everything I got, 110% each day, even away from practice. I'm focused strictly on KC Panthers football and hopefully do my best to help these guys win a title.
Absolutely. So, was it hard to go from being a head coach to going down to being an assistant? And I'm not trying to downplay it at all, but a lot of times, a lot of guys want to try to move up. They want to go from player to coaches to the head coach, So what kind of transaction did you have to go through to make this decision?
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm that individual who would do anything if I put my heart and soul into it and I agree to do it. To me, it really don't matter. If they say, Coach Webb, we know you're out, but you want to come in and be a special teams coordinator, if I felt like my heart was to do that, that's what I would do. So it's not really that big of a, oh, man, I'm upset. I'm not the head coach. Coach Ross and I talked again. Again, we met about this, and I agreed to be the DC. He even offered me the head coach because he's got a lot of other things going on. I said, no, if you want to continue to do this, let me come in. We decided DC. I'm enjoying it. So I'm not a selfish individual. I'm all about the team. I put the team above anything else. My model that I adopted back when I got into coaching was athletes first, winning second, which kind of basically tell you I'm about the team first. Winning will follow that as long as I do my best to do my part and help these guys out.
Absolutely. So with that, you've got one of your players here. So what do you look for in accomplishing this year?
This year, I actually feel like we should accomplish a lot more than what the Panthers did last year and what the Titans did last year. With the talent that we have now, it may not, to what others say, oh, we got better talent. What we have here, I feel like we can really accomplish something great.
So after last year, you were kind of in a certain mind frame. How did you transformate your mind frame from last year into this year?
Well, because of how I ended, I just felt like I needed to come back to get what I needed. So with Coach Webb being here, that also helped make that push to say, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to get everything we can to get out of it and get the job done.
Now, I believe in the semi-pro Saturday rankings, they have you guys in the lower half of the league. What do you say when they tell you that you're in the lower half of the rankings?
I'm not going to say what I said, but because it's what I say when anybody else doubt whoever I'm with or myself. But if that's how they feel, then that's how they feel. But we know if that's what it is, if we say that's where we are, then we know we got work to do.
Absolutely. So actually, Coach Ross said that he was hoping that they would have been last.
I mean,
because
that's more of a push for us. That's like, look, we got all this adversity we got to go through. We got 20 odd teams that we got to fight through and get to the top spot.
Right. Now, saying this, you've got guys that is out there right now because you guys are here. You guys, when we get to halftime, you will be leaving to go practice and everything. So how do you try to adjust with people, because sometimes work or life happens? How do you try to make it to practice every day to try to dedicate yourself to your craft that you have?
Well, because I know outside of other than life itself, this is my second life. So I have to put everything I can to get out of it, everything I can in to get what I want out. And if showing up every day to practice, helping coach, doing this, that, and the third, helping the team, that's what I have to do to be great, then that's what I'll do.
And you are a defensive captain.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct? So, see, hey, guys, I'm good. But so for you, Coach, what are you looking at for your team, or your defensive side of your team this year?
Well, Brian, you said it best. It's an overall team effort. It's not just defense. It's not just offense.
And I know that, and I apologize, but I'm just saying, what do you look for your team, your defensive team? What are you looking for them to help this team?
We've got some veterans out here. We've got some youth. We've got some experienced guys who play collegiately. That is a great melting pot to start the season out with. We set goals. We have interim goals. We have midterm goals. We have long-term goals. I think right now we just want to see where we're at with technique, with this first upcoming preseason game, skill level, and we're going to build off top of that. I mean, we've got so many goals we want to accomplish. I can give you a long list of what we talked about, but ultimately, the biggest goal is to be there at the end and try to win that ring. But if we don't, I talked to one of our assistant coaches. Him and I was on the phone the other night, and he was saying, Coach, I was here last year, and you saw from afar what happened with this team last year. So we go out and we can pull off 7 or 8 wins this year. We've accomplished a lot. We have something to build off of for the future. So that's kind of like what we're looking at right now.
So outside the wins and losses, what is the main thing that you want to take out of this for this season?
For this season, take out of, oh man, there's quite a bit. I have more than just one main thing, but ultimately, I want guys to come out with some type of life lesson. It's about taking these young men, these older men, and give them something to build off of. When I'm talking about becoming men of valor, be stronger as a father figure, be stronger as a young man. Obviously, the day and age that we live in now, it's really hard. So as long as they know they can take that out of, regardless of the win or losses, they can come back, call me later on in life, say, you know what, playing for you X amount of years meant so much to me because now I'm a better family man, and it's all because of what I accomplished through you, about the structure, the discipline. You always talk about being on time, being prompt with everything, and I could take that, and I've taken that, and I put that to use when it comes to my family, and now this has helped me out tremendously. So that's one thing that I would like for these guys. It's not just about the win and losses. It's about helping these young guys become good men of valor, and that's what I'm looking for.
Keyshawn, how about you?
You might have to repeat the question again.
Yes. What are you, outside of the wins and losses, what are you looking to accomplish, and what are you looking for in this season? What are you wanting to accomplish, and what is your goals?
My goals, just at least for the defense personally, I kind of live with it coming from JUCO. Our coach, always said, no more than 14 points, no more than 150 yards rushing, and no more than 250 passing. If you live by that standard, and at least three turnovers, you live by that standard, you'll always win the game. And knowing that we have different talents here, it's not going to always be that case. But if we have, just like Coach said, people just coming in, wanting to work, doing the techniques, and it's just coming out with some kind of heart, wanting to fight and not lay down so easy, I think we'll be all right.
Absolutely. So, in this game that's coming up this Saturday, what are you looking to accomplish in this preseason game? Because it doesn't matter if you win 50-0 or you lose 50-0. What are you trying to get out of this preseason game to help the start of your season?
My biggest goal out of this first preseason game is to do my best to make sure every single individual that's been out here grinding for the last 2.5 months in between the white lines to get on that field, find himself out there, mixing it up, getting some reps in so we can take it back. We can break down the game film, and we can start putting true technique behind what we see live. Because right now, it's about what we do against each other practice, and we're kind of getting to the point where we're kind of sick and tired of see the same offense and they see the same defense, and the competitiveness is still high, but it's going to be dividends when we get a chance to go against somebody in the opposite color jersey. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, I'm looking forward to it too. I am looking forward to the season. I always look forward to it. I mean, obviously, I don't play anymore because I'm 31 years old. But no, but just saying that. I get to watch. I enjoy watching the guys. I get to see them play, and you're not going to see a Patrick Mahomes type effort or Travis Kelce, but you get to see the same attitude and the same effort that you would see from a Patrick Mahomes or a Travis Kelce, and that's the one thing that I do enjoy seeing. So saying that, are you looking to play a lot, or are you just gonna? They're just gonna go in and out. You're just gonna
I'm honestly probably looking. If everything's going to flow how we want it to, I mean, yes, it is preseason, but I'm honestly looking probably to play at least probably 2 quarters max. That's just because we have a lot of guys that's learning, and we want to get them in and see where they are and learn from that, and also just make sure everybody have fun.
And that's and to me, that's the best part. You guys having fun, because a lot of times I see players. So let me ask you this. So there are some players, and I'm not saying there's any on the Panthers or not, but in the past, there are guys that they think they're Antonio Brown or OBJ or something like that. They think they're a diva. How do you try to control players like that from being a diva?
You kind of just got to talk to them, let them know. It's kind of hard because they have that diva mindset, but you kind of just got to let them know, like, look, we can't move without you. You can't move without us. You want the ball, the O-line got to block. Quarterback got to see you get open. You have to get open. There's a lot of things that has to go right in order for you to just get the ball. So it's not all about just you. There's no I in team. It's I and win, but there's no I in team.
Right. So, Coach.
Yes.
How do you try to get these guys on that level of just playing together instead of trying to say, hey, coach, I'm open, or quarterback, I'm open, because I know how that is. And I'm not just pointing out on the offensive side, because it's on both sides.
Yes.
It's on the special teams. It's all of that. So how do you try to keep things in perspective?
So coming from a coach's seat, you're also not just dealing with an athlete. You're dealing with an athlete at a different level. These are grown men. You know what I'm saying? Some are young, some are average age, some are older age. So you have to develop some type of mental and psychological side of it to where how you approach certain guys and how you talk to them. And I know from being around different coaches at different levels, even going to and sit in with a couple of NFL coaches, that's something that is a good coach needs to develop, and I've learned to do that. So it's about how you approach these guys, how do you coach them up. But at the same token, this is kind of like the milder side of me. He would tell you that I'm a little different when it comes to being on the white line. I am a defensive guy, and my mindset's like that. So I will let them know real fast. It's going to be our way or no way. So we don't want no individual players out here. There's a time and place where you can be an individual, even in game time or in practice time. There's a time and place to do that, believe it or not. But when it comes to this team, it's not. We're not going to allow that to happen. And if we can't get through to you by talking to you, by discipline, by structure, then maybe we need to sever ties and have you to decide to go do something else. I have a very short fuse when it comes to that selfishness.
Absolutely. So, I totally get it, because I have been around long enough that I've seen this stuff happen, and it just gets so frustrating, because it's like, really, why are you acting like this? It'd be like, well, and I'm going to use me example. It'd be like me in the press box saying, "Hey, I'm better than everybody else." You got to do it my way, or it's or the highway. And I've learned when, as you say, what are you, amateur?
Yeah, I like to call it amateur adult football.
Amateur adult football.
Yeah.
So, I've always been like, look, everybody needs to do a part. Andy Reid does his coaching.
Yes.
You've got Patrick Mahomes does quarterbacking. Everybody has their defined role, but in this, you don't have necessarily a defined role. You can do multiple stuff. So, like, when I get done, I will go out there and I will help. Whether it's to hike the ball, give you guys water, show you my knowledge of playing football, because I played football in high school. What coaches taught me when I played, and everything else. And the one thing is that even though I played football in the early 80s, I can still translate my knowledge from the 80s to 2025. I can still teach that. Now it may be totally a little bit different, because it's obviously 40 plus years, but still the thing is still the same. You still got to catch the ball, you got to run the ball, you got to throw the ball, and you got to tackle the player. So so you got all that. So I know we're getting. We are at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW. We've got Coach Bo Webb, which is Coach Robert Bo Webb, and Keyshawn Garrett. He is the safety and the team captain on the defensive side for the Kansas City Panthers. And gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming in tonight and bringing your knowledge and your input for the Kansas City Panthers. And I wish nothing but success for you guys.
And Brian, it's an honor for us to be here, and we look forward to coming back. Whenever we're asked to be back, we will definitely be back. Just want to let you guys know that this team that we're built, that we're continuing to work with, I just want to give a shout out to the coaching staff, the front office staff, the ball players who have been grinding at this for the last 2.5, 3 months. I see something really special here. So again, we're going to give you a different dose, a different taste, and we're hopefully that you guys will enjoy it and you will see the professional side of us on game day, because we've got something in line for a lot of people to come out and see.
Well, and you're playing Saturday at home. Where do you guys play at? If they want to say, hey, we would like to come out, how do we know where to come?
The game is actually a week from this coming Saturday. It's 4 o'clock. It's at the University Academy, UA is what they call it here in Kansas City. And I want to say, is that over there by Rock Hill?
It is off 68th and Home.
Yeah, 68th and Home. So that's what will be a week from this coming Saturday. Please, please, please adjust your schedules. Come out. Prices are low to get into a adult amateur football game, and you will love the show that we're going to put on for you guys.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen, I greatly thank you guys for coming out on the show and again giving your input. And I truly enjoy it. You know, Jimmy always allows his players to come because, you know, it's just not all Jimmy. Though I don't mind having Jimmy on the show, but I like getting different perspective from
Yes.
different players. So last week we had Christian and
Colin.
yeah,
Yes.
Colin. And I'm thinking of his nickname, Colo. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, I forgot.
That's
I forgot
who
his-
Colo is.
Yes.
I just never put it together.
Well, I learned that last week, so I talked to him about that and why he had it. So, but I do appreciate you gentlemen coming out, and I know that you need to get going because you've got practice, and I will be out there shortly. So we are at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW. We got Coach 24, Darwin Penny, DJ Scatter, George Walker, and Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice, with our guests, Coach Bo Webb and Keyshawn Garrett. We're going to take a break, and when we're done, they will be gone, but we'll be talking a little bit of Royals because they don't want to come in here and listen to maybe some of the words I have to say about them. But anyway, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back on KUAW. No, I'm not ready. No, I'm kidding. All right, we are back with the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Guest Coach Bo Webb and Keyshawn Garrett. They were great guests, and so totally look forward to it. And as you can tell, I am wearing my Panther hoodie too. So it was very nice of them to come on, and definitely look forward to having them back on the show sometime soon. But right now, we are here to talk about the NCAA, and we are at the Final Four. And so you've got, it's funny. 2 weeks ago, we were just about ready to do our show, and they already had a few games opening up, and so you just go and have, you're watching games, and then when we get out of here, hey, Scott Lininger, how you doing, buddy? And you are, you're watching all the games, and I'm hoping Missouri wins. And it was the only time that I rooted for Kansas because I wanted Missouri to play Kansas so Missouri could beat Kansas, and both of them lose in the first round. And I'm just like, oh, my goodness. But saying that, we have two sets of Final Fours. We've got the men and all number one seeds for the first time since 2008, when Kansas, Memphis, UCLA, and North Carolina made the Final Four, which was the first time since the early 80s when the bracket turned to 64 teams. And I know there's 68, but I'm saying 64 teams that they had a number one, or they had all number one seeds. And so you have all number one seeds and all of them. And the thing of it is that people were complaining that there were the games were too bland or was too predictable or whatever. I think this is going to be a phenomenal Final Four. You've got four teams that were the number one seeds, and yes, they had some tribulations. I know Florida struggled with, I believe it was Maryland, and then also had UConn, which ended their shot for a three-peat, which would have been the first team to win three in a row since UCLA in the late 60s and early 70s. But mainly Auburn, they powered through. Now they played Michigan State Sunday night, and Michigan State gave them a heck of a battle, but at the end, Auburn's big guys overtook them and took care of it. But and then you have Houston, and Houston arguably has the best defensive team in the Final Four. In fact, I think they are the lowest. They had one of the lowest defenses in points per game in the nation. Now, I know Drake had the lowest, and I know Houston was right behind them. But out of the four, their defense is way better. And then you have Duke, and Duke, could score a lot of points, and then they could shut you down just like they did to Alabama. Alabama scored 113 points in the round of 16, the Sweet 16, and then turned around and only scored 65 points. And so Cooper Flagg, and it's just not Cooper Flagg, but Cooper Flagg is a stud. And as a freshman, as an 18-year-old freshman, he's not even going to be 19 until, I believe, the summertime, if I'm not mistaken. So he could, if he goes into the NBA, he could be almost 18 and just barely turning 19 when he goes into the NBA. But he was just dominant for Duke. And I'm telling you what, Houston and Duke, that should be a match that is going to be pretty awesome. I am definitely looking forward to these Final Fours. And, you've got Auburn and Florida. You've got two teams from the SEC, and a lot of teams go, well, they better have some teams in there because the fact they had 14 teams. But if you look at it, the Sweet 16, the SEC had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They had 7 teams in the Sweet 16. So I mean, they had a lot of teams. Yes, they had a lot of upsets and losses, but still, they turned around and just totally just took care of business. So SEC had a good season. But saying that, in my brackets, now I have 2 brackets, and Jim Peabody, hello, how you doing? My friend from Iowa. So hopefully you're doing well, my friend. But, in my brackets, I have, I had one where I screwed it up totally. I had Florida beating Tennessee, and then in my other one, I have Houston defeating Florida. So I've got those 2 teams. Now, I think I had Alabama in the Final Four in that. So I didn't have Duke, but that's also because I don't like Duke. I am not a Duke fan. I have not been a Duke fan, especially since 1991 when they beat my UNLV team that was undefeated, and they were 1 win away from playing for the championship game. And I know that UNLV would have beaten Kansas the way Duke beat Kansas in that final. But at that time, Coach K told his team, he said, look, UNLV had not been in any close games, and so we have. And so just keep them close. Just keep them close to you, and then when it gets to the end, you can finish them off, and that's what they did. And, yeah, I still don't like them. Saying that, Duke has done the exact same thing this year. They had big wins, very few close games, and so especially in this tournament, I mean, they have averaged, roughly 90 points, over 90 points per game in the 4 games that they've won. And so they've scored well, and they're going up against Houston, that doesn't really give up any points. I mean, their defense is really stalwart, and Kelvin Sampson is just coaching his hind quarter off, as we'll try to be nice in saying that. But saying this, I have the Houston Cougars beating the Duke Blue Devils, and I have Florida beating Auburn. Now, saying this, I'm saying it because Florida did beat Auburn in the SEC tournament. And so Houston versus Florida, just like one of my brackets, I've got Houston beating Florida for the national championship game. So, and so I've got that for the guys. Now, for the women, there was 3 teams that were the number 1 seeds that made the finals. Now, the women's constantly have the number 1 seeds, have all 4 number 1 seeds in there, and they're playing for the finals and everything else. But you have one team in there that is not going to be a number 1 seed, and that's the UConn Huskies. And they took care of USC, but saying that, they did it without playing against USC's best player, Juju Watkins, who tore her knee up against Mississippi State, and they had never been the same since. And when K-State took them down to the final minutes, it took a couple of plays that Kansas did not execute properly and allowed Southern Cal to win. I knew that UConn was heavily favored, and even though USC, the Trojans, was within 5 points after the end of the third quarter, you could just see UConn just totally taking it, finally just taking it and walking away with it. And Paige Beckers is the best player in college basketball for the women this year, and she just totally dominated big time. But saying that, she also had a few of her players that also helped in. So you've got UCLA, who is in their first Final Four, going up against UConn. So you've got a team that just made it to their 24th Final Four, which is the most out of anybody, men or women, versus a team that's been in their first time. So that's going to be a real good matchup. And then you have South Carolina, who is going to their fifth straight Final Four, and they're playing Texas, who edged out TCU. And I was really hoping TCU would have beaten Texas. This would have been TCU's first Final Four. In fact, actually, they have been perennial doormats for the Big 12 in women's basketball. So the fact that they turned around, they won their first Big 12 championship, and then they turned around and went through the NCAA and went to the Elite Eight and took Texas down to the wire before Texas finally outplayed them near the end, and I believe they won like 67-59 or something like that. So you've got South Carolina, who has an attitude or has an edge right now because they felt that they should have been the number one seed overall number one seed, and they weren't. They were actually the number 2 seed, and they're playing Texas, who is going to their 6th Final Four. But I remember, and I believe it was like 2012, the last time that the Lady Longhorns made it to the Final Four. But they would play in the 80s along with Southern Cal and Cheryl Miller. There was Jody Condat, the head coach for the Lady Longhorns, and she, was leading Texas to a bunch of Final Fours and even won at least one title. I want to say one, maybe 2 out of that. But then you've got Don Staley at South Carolina that is just totally they're just totally beating people. And with them, they had a tough match against Maryland. In fact, they were behind, I believe, with less than 2 minutes left, and then pulled away from Maryland. And then they turned around and played Duke, who gave them a heck of a match before the Gamecocks edged out the Blue Devils, Lady Blue Devils, 54-50. But you have UCLA and Lauren Betts, who is also a great player. I'm telling you what, if it wasn't for Paige Beckers, I would say Lauren Betts is the best player in the country for the women. And so they are looking this is going to be a great matchup. So saying this, I can't whether I like it or not, because Gino Ariama overtook all of Pat Summitt's records, and I am a huge Pat Summitt fan, so I will always be against UConn. But saying this, UConn will beat UCLA, and South Carolina will beat Texas, and it will be South Carolina versus UConn, and it will be a whale of a Final Four. And I'm going to pick South Carolina to beat UConn. UConn is not going to get the title. So anyway, so there is my predictions. And so we are done with the NCAA, so now I'm going to go to baseball. Right now you've got the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're undefeated. They're 7-0, and they are just totally just kicking butt. But the surprise team a little bit is my team, well, actually my second team, but it's still my team, the San Diego Padres, who are also undefeated. They are 7-0. And here's the funny thing. I was looking at the Yahoo top rankings, their baseball rankings. So you had the Dodgers 1, duh. You had Yankees 2, duh. But you had the Atlanta Braves at 6. They had not won a game yet this year, and they are ranked 6th. I get it is only 1 week into the season. I mean, technically last Thursday was opening day. I know you had the 2 games in Tokyo with the Dodgers and the Cubs, but other than that, all of baseball started last Thursday. So when we came in on the show last week, we already knew who won between the Royals and the Cleveland Guardians. And actually Coach 24 was sitting on the side because he got in a little late because he was watching the game. But you've got that. Now, saying that, the Royals, they're 2-4. It's okay. I'm not stressing. I'm not nervous. I'm not panicking. But the Royals need to get better outfielders. And in fact, actually, their best game that they played was the first game in Milwaukee when they scored 11 runs. And that was because they had Jonathan India in left field and Miguel Garcia in center field. You didn't have Melendez. You didn't have Isbell. You didn't have Renfroe out in the outfield. And I'm telling you what, I know it's early, but these guys are virtually batting barely over 100. I think Isbell is 133, Renfroe is 111, and Melendez is 0.77. Now, you say that Bobby Witt Jr. is only batting 240 right now. I'm not worried about Bobby Witt Jr. because he's going to get it going. He's off to a slow start. That's okay. Salvi, I'm not worried about them because they have produced. But the other 3 I do worry about because if these guys don't get it going, the Royals could start off really, really slow, and it won't be like last year where they fought off of just a slight slow start, but then picked it up. If these guys don't get it going, they could be in trouble. And the pitching has been really good. Yes, they had one game where they didn't do quite as hot, but actually they've only, I think 5 runs is the most that they've scored or they've given up in a game. So I'm not worried about the pitching. The pitching is going to get better, and they have been pitching very well. So we just got to get some outfield production. And if that means you got to move India and Garcia out there, and no, Caliendo is not coming up. The only way he's coming up is that if Royals are in a desperate need for him to come up, and that is not a good thing. You need to keep him down there as long as he can and bash the ball down there in Double-A and Triple-A before you bring him up. But we got to find somebody out in that outfield that could possibly join India and Garcia. Garcia is a very surprise, a pleasant surprise. Batting .353, he's doing very well, and I am so glad. And that helps out. But saying that, I am not worried about the Royals. I am not worried that they have a slight slow start. They will pick it up. They will get better. And so fans, do not freak out. And with that, we are at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. My brother with another mother, Coach 24, who is out scouting this week, and DJ Scatter, Mr. George Walker behind the scenes running the show, and I am Brian Kress. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal sports weekend. Go NCAA.